How will the destruction of agricultural parishes affect food prices and food security for Jamaican households over the coming months and even years?
You know, so everything have multiple impact. So in the short run, in the short run, even at high gates, seeing the banana trees them down. And if we had cut the leaves on the banana trees, I wasn't here. I was absent for a month. So I wasn't actually here during the hurricane and things, I was actually in Ghana and then I went to France for a conference. And that conference spoke about how people can work collaboratively towards development, which is still reflective in Rastafari philosophy of self-reliance and collective security. So while I was not here, the work that was on was actually in support of what needs to be done in Jamaica post the hurricane. So as relates to food, so when we're in the short run, immediately you can see that prices have increased. So before I left Jamaica, tomato was being sold for like $150 a pound, $100 a pound. And that is at Papine Market. In Coronation Market, it would have been cheaper now. Today at Papine Market, 1 pound of tomato actually costs 500 Jamaican dollars. So you have to about a 400% increase in prices. And I think that will be the average increase in price. But that is really a short-term phenomenon, because agriculture is the first sector to always revive. Seeing, and if you think about it, it makes sense. So most of the fresh vegetables that we might consume, like kalalu and pak chai and cabbage, so pak chai is about 4 to 6 weeks. Kalalu is around the same 3 to 4 to 6 weeks. Cabbage, take a little bit longer, like 3 months, Parsley, celery. So on average, the fresh vegetables take a maximum of 4 to 3 months. So I am seeing a 3 months window where they're going to be increasing prices and some importation of certain things. And I mean certain things that are like beetroot, But it's like standard things, like even now, remember this cause is the southeastern part where I have St. Elizabeth that tend to plant a lot of the food. But I don't want people to be tricked. St. Elizabeth as a parish probably planted the most food on the south coast. But Clarendon is planting a whole lot of food all over Jamaica. Trelawney, even though Trelawney got hit, I could see my virgin, what we call Yummy, who come to Papine Market. He came with everything, but mostly like yam and sweet potato and carrots. I must say a lot of other things get hit, but a lot of those things are underground food, So them still have a portion of those that are there. So while St. Elizabeth is going to have a major setback, and St. Elizabeth primarily plant season, some of find a lot of people who understand Jamaica agricultural landscape. So if you talk about scallion and thyme, that are St. Elizabeth and things still, carrot and them things them also plant a lot of. But if you talk about sweet potato and Irish, that is certain places like Manchester, Christiana. Manchester get some really bad hits as well to still, So we're expecting that you're going to have a shortage of those. But say the ground food now, like the Irish and the sweet potato, those usually take like a 6 months to come forward. And of course, bananas take 9 to 11 months to come forward. So essentially, within a 1 year period, we should get back normal supplies of every kind of agriculture product in Jamaica. Notice I did not mention anything about livestock. See, because again, like chicken, where people eat chicken, chicken is really a chicken. It takes about 6 weeks to mature. See, but if you talk about goat and cows, and I don't hear anything happening to the goats and cows. I have not heard that in the news that there's a major destruction because it's not senses that grow in animal husbandry the most. Those are things that are scattered across the entire island. But there are more food planted across Jamaica than people think. But because most people think, say, oh, St. Elizabeth is the bread basket, that's what we say traditionally. And that place has gotten severe hits and things. We know there's a shortage and prices are going to go up. But those things will be remedied quite soon. Now, the state, though, is where my biggest concern is. Because if farmers in St. Elizabeth are going to depend upon the state to support them. Sometimes these people take too long to make decisions, you know. I'm a concerned about Celsius Bed that's last year, the next hurricane, you know. And Celsius Bed got hit again last year. And so but the Celsius Bed people have a culture of doing things on their own. So they would have planted and rebuilt them houses and put them by them roofs. And here comes the next hurricane. Says a double hit them get, you know. So I suspect they might be a little bit dependent now upon the state for some form of support. A lot of help has been going down there, but the amount of bureaucracy me here in terms of how people access the help, you know, it just disheartening, bridging. But since that people are very independent persons, but Jamaica in general, a final point I want to make is that it gives Jamaica a chance now to revisit voting about agriculture. Because for years we have been saying that you have about 30 to 40,000 acres of land, flat land, between Clarendon and St. Catherine that should go under production. And there were programs that was called the Essex Valley Production and the Spod Production Program. They need to fast track those things now. So what it can do is that rather than put Jamaica in a position which is food insecure, Jamaica can come out being food sovereign because the state will be smart and say let us move with agriculture. Because if you don't move with agriculture, it is going to affect those who operate in the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Because 95% of all manufactured products that comes from the MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprise, are linked into the agriculture value chain. So the implication is not just for fresh food, there's implication for processed food as well. But I'm saying out of a disaster can come a very big positive, which is to move to food sovereignty. Just like the simple principle of the phoenix rise from the ashes, you know. So Jamaica can actually come out much better than they were previous to Melissa, which means that we accelerate and amplify farming in the other parishes that have an abundance of land, while we still support St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland to get back into their production. You know, so my meditation is not that it is going to be a doom and gloom situation. My thinking is that we have an opportunity to actually draw on the positives that can come from this, which is to ramp up agriculture production island-wide.